Up until this point in this video series, I've shown you a client operating system, primarily Windows 10. Now I'm going to show you a few videos based on the Windows Server operating system, specifically Windows Server 2016 R2. There, as you can see from a first glance, it looks very similar to the Windows client operating system. The reason being that Microsoft nowadays have really made it very similar in terms of user experience in both the client and the server. But right off the bat, you can see that there is a few key differences in the UI, and one of them is this Server Manager box. And Server Manager is something that pops up once a server is loaded. Once you log in, you're basically going to be visiting this page quite often. This page has several functions. One of the main functions is to give you the option to configure the basic settings of the server, very similar to the properties tab of this computer, with a bit more flexibility. I'll show you what happens. And everything is basically built towards a beginner, so you can click on configure this server as step 1. It will take you to this page. As you can see here, this page has some aggregation of core functionality settings. So for example, you can see if you want to change the computer name, you can click on this icon and it will take you to the name change section of the menu. And also, if you can see here, we have a few settings that were not available in the previous client operating system, like an easy way to enable remote desktop, an easy way to enable Internet Explorer settings, change the time, and also perform Windows Update and such. And there's all kinds of connection to change the IP, for example, if you would like to reach there in one click. And it's relatively built for usefulness for an administrator who wants to get to those settings fast. And as you can see, it's quite handy. The second part of this dashboard is the add roles and features section, and this refers to how you can actually add services and functions to this server. And the way you would do it is by clicking on the add roles and features. And this is where you're able to be greeted by a wizard that shows you what are the roles and the features that you're able to install on this server. And this is basically how you add functions to the server. So when you install the server out of the box, it starts with no functionalities. It's a normal operating system that does nothing other than maintain the login and allowing you to install services. Once you go into this menu and go to the role-based access and feature settings, you're able to select the server, install it, and this is where you can see the list of logs, a long list of services and applications that you're able to install, and each one of those is basically tailored towards a function. So if you remember from previous video, DHCP server, if you'd like this server to provide network configuration to clients, DNS server if you want it to be a name resolve server that the people will go to in order to resolve names into IPs. And there's quite a lot, like web server that we mentioned that is able to host websites and serve web content to clients, and Active Directory, which is a very common service and has a lot of breakdowns to multiple services related to Active Directory. And there's quite a long list, and you can select the role that you want. For example, I would like to install a DHCP service, and then you click on next. And this is where the second part of this menu appears, which is all the features. The features are not necessarily related to the server roles, but when you install a specific role, it might require some features in order to operate. And then again, you have a long list of features that you're able to install. Select the feature that you like. For example, let's do SMTP. Nah, this one a complex TFTP client. And next. And this is where basically you're walking through the installation wizard of the roles and features you've selected. So once I selected DHCP server, it tells me, are you sure you want to install DHCP server? This is the settings and things that are important. You click on next, and then basically you're done. You click on install, and now the process of installing this new DHCP service role, and of course the TFTP client, which I've added under the feature, is performed. Once this installation is done, the feature will be completed, and then it will appear as a menu option here on the left, and also from a dedicated UI similar to the MMC that we've seen on the client machine. And this will allow you to administrate this function, to configure it, maintain it, and such. And that's pretty much all there is to it, to how you install a new role and how the server role is, the server manager helps you install roles and see what's going on. Once the DHCP installation was complete, you can see it's added as a new icon under the server roles, under the server manager, and I can click on DHCP and basically configure it. One thing that is important, you can right click on the name and go to DHCP Manager, and this will open the tab of the DHCP Manager. And this is similar to, as I mentioned before, the MMC, and you're able to see that it's already populated the DHCP section. So quite handy if you need to manage a lot of roles and you don't want to open an MMC and import the snap-ins for each one of them.